So now we're going to take a look at 3 preset designs from the ground up. And the first preset that we're going to look at is a bass sound called Chung, taken from my preset pack. So let me hit play in Ableton, because that's where the MIDI's coming from for this. And then I'll play around with the sound and show you what we're going to be creating. So nice simple bass sound. So what I'm going to do now is just flick over to an empty preset slot, so we can start from scratch and build this back up. First thing I want to look at is the voice section. I'm going to change the polyphony to mono, so we don't want notes overlapping like a chord for a bass sound. And then the analog flavor, I'm going to bring that up to 30. And that's just going to add some destabilization into the oscillator pitches and also things like the filter as well, just to replicate that kind of slightly old, warmish circuitry of an old synth. And then I'm going to bring up warm mode and put that on, so that kind of brings up the low end and gives it that moogie sound where it's got a thicker low end. Let's press exit, and now let's program the oscillators. So as we're doing this, I'll press play and run that sequence so you can hear exactly what I'm doing. So at the minute it doesn't sound great, but let's go ahead and program these in. So the first one, I'm going to bring that down to -24 to bring it into that bass area. Let's go to the mixer and bring up oscillator 2. This one, I'm just going to bring it down 5 semitones to make it a 5th. And we're just going to add a little bit of detuning there with the cents. Let's bring up the 3rd oscillator. This one, we want this one to be a sub oscillator, so let's go -36. So that's the sound I'm going for. But what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to bring oscillator 2 down, bring oscillator 3 down on the mixer. We're going to go to the home page, and I'm going to program these macros. So that macro 1 is for the volume for the low oscillator, which is oscillator 3, and macro 2 will be the volume for the 2nd oscillator, the middle one. So that's the 5th. Let's go to macro assign, press the first slot, assign, mixer, go down to oscillator 3 volume, bring up the depth amount, and then we're going to go for a full 1 to 8 on here. So let's have a listen to that. So there you go, that's definitely working. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down to the last page. I'm going to go to custom name, and I'm going to name this. So let's just call this low, and then just get rid of that last one there. And to be honest, in the first the original version of this, it was a capital, so I don't really need to do it, but I'm going to do it anyway. So let's just go back and put the O as a capital and then exit. So there's low oscillator, and now we need to program the 2nd macro. So macro assign 2nd, and then we're going to go assign mixer oscillator 2 volume. This time we're not going to go all the way up, so we're just going to bring up the depth amount a little bit less. So let's just bring this up and dial this in. Around there works quite nicely. And then same thing again, we're going to go to the last page. We're going to go to custom name, and then we're going to call this one high. So let me go back the other way. And then just get rid of that last letter there, and then exit. So now we've got low and high. Let's just check them out. So low, high, and then the option to bring them both in at the same time. Just bring that volume back down. So now I'm going to take a look at the filter section. So let's go over to filter 1. And what we want to go for here is an LP ladder filter, but not one of these ones. I'm going to go for the fat versions, which boosts the low end, so as you bring up the resonance, you don't lose the sub frequencies. And I think we'll go for the fat 24, so it's a steeper slope. And then cut off, let's dial it in on here actually, it's a little bit easier. I'm going to bring the cutoff right down to start with, so it's quite low, maybe around 9. Can't quite get there, so I'll just leave it there. And then resonance, bring that up to around 47. And then we want to take a look at the drive as well. So just a little bit of drive there. And then what we're going to do now actually is bring up the envelope amount. And we need to shape the envelope for this as well. So let's go to filter envelope, bring the sustain right down, a little bit of decay. Add a little bit of release in there. And then let's just play around with that decay as well, the curve of it. So it's quite nice and snappy. Let me just go back to there. So yeah, that'll do for that really. And then what I want to do is just go back to the filter now we've got that set up. Take a look at key tracking. At the moment, the higher notes, push the filter up and quite a lot. So I want to bring that down just a little bit. Just so it's a little bit deeper and the higher notes don't push the filter up as much. And I think what we need to look at now is the amps. Let's go to the amp section. And I'm just going to bring that level up a little bit so it's a bit louder. And then let's take a look at the amp envelope. So amp envelope, what I'm going to do is bring the sustain down a little bit. Around there, and then just add a little bit of decay. Yeah, around there. So just got this nice gradual slope coming down. And then again, a little bit of release in there. So this release won't matter unless I press stop on Ableton. So it's that carry on of the note there, so let's just dial this in. Yep, that will do. That sounds quite good. The next thing I want to look at actually is I want to go back to the macros now and dial in some more macros. So 5, let's go for 5 and assign this to envelope 1 decay. I'm just going to hit play as well so we can hear it. So we're going to open up that decay a little bit with this. Put it around 24. And let's go down and label this now. So with this one, we can probably find it in the list names instead of having to write it in. So let's just move over to D. There we go, decay. So now we've got a decay setup, which we can dial in. And then the next one I want to look at is the one next to it. We're going to do one for release as well. So let's just stop Ableton, because this one only matters as well when we hit a key. And we've got a bit of a gap in between rather than overlapping notes. So let's assign, we're going to go to envelope 1 and envelope 2 release. So envelope 1 and envelope 2. Sometimes I do them together like this just to make it easier, and I can copy over what I'm doing on each one. So on both of them, we want release. And then we need to dial in the same numbers for each of these. So let's have a look. That will do, we'll go for that. And then again, we just need to label this. So there should be a release in here. Yep, there we go. just going to bring it all the way down for now. So we've got them, and then we're going to take a look at the voice again and do some things with the glide. So voice, second page, and you can see we've got glide here. We're going to switch that on. The glide time, I'm actually going to leave at 0. I'm going to add a macro for this, but I am going to play around with the glide curve. We're going to put this at log -32, and then we're going to leave the legato off. So let's just have a listen to what this would sound like. So you can hear it gliding there. And then what I'm going to do is create a macro for this so that we can open up the glide amount or glide time. So let's go to macro assign, and then we're going to put this one on 3, and we're going to call it bend. So let's go to assign, let's go to voice, and then we want to be choosing glide time. And let's just put in an amount for this. So I'm going to actually play the sequence again. This is way too much, but I want that option in there. So you can make some notes really long. But obviously if you just want like a nice amount of glide, you would bring it back a little bit on the depth amount on the macro. So let's just change this to glide as well for the name. I'm just going to stop that sequence. So there we go, glide. We've got that set up now. And the next thing that we're going to look at is the effects. So we're going to put on a chorus verse on the pre-effect slot. So let's just go over to the chorus, and then dry wet will bring this up quite a bit. Just while we dial it in. So let's take a look at what we've got. Right, so we'll leave this. We won't use a preset. We'll actually dial it in ourselves. So what I'm going to do, I kind of like that sound, quite high depth amount. That's quite a nice sound. I'm just going to bring this back, put it around. Yeah, maybe around there. Now let's look at delay. So with the delay, I want to go for pan delay. Let's just bring this up while we dial it in. So let's go for BPM sync. Quarter notes. Add quite a bit of feedback in there. That's better with the time, that's where we need to be. And then just bring up the wet tone as well, so it sculpts out the low end, so it gets rid of the low end, and just we're left with the higher end instead of all the lows. Here, all that's more bassy. So let's go quite high on that, so none of the lows are coming through. And then with the feed tone as well, push that all the way up. So it means the tone of the delays get damper as the time goes on with each hit. And with the wet, we're going to actually bring that down because I want to create a macro for this. So the dry wet, let's bring it all the way down to the bottom. Let's exit this, and then let's take a look at macro 4. That's where we'll put this one. So macro assign, macro 4, let's assign it, and then go over to delay. And then what we want to do is go to delay dry wet, and then just bring this up and press play again so we can hear it. Around there for the maximum. And you'll notice we've also got a drop in the volume as well. So let's go to assign, amp, level, and then we're just going to compensate the gain reduction that we're getting with this dry wet. So we're not losing volume there. And then let's go to the list name, and we're just going to call this delay. So there should be a delay one in there. Let's exit that. So now we've got a delay one. Next, we're going to take a look at the reverb. So let's go to the reverb slot. And for the reverb type, we're going to go for Hall. Just bring this up so we can hear it. We'll leave pre-delay where it is with the timing. Shorten that a little bit. Bring the tone up to lose the low end. And then with the high damp, we're going to bring it all the way up. And low damp, just going to leave that at 0. And then we're going to create a macro for this as well. So let me just stop that and go to the macro assign. And we're actually going to put this on 8, so it's underneath delay. And then let's assign reverb and then reverb time. So with this one, what we're going to do is we're going to open up the decay time of the reverb. So you'll notice when we program this, I set it quite low. That's nice. And then let's go back down. Call this reverb. And I might just have to knock back the dry wet a little bit for this. It's a little bit too high. So I'd say around 30%. That's nice, just there. And then what I'm going to do now is look at the post effect section. And we're going to bring in some distortion. So I know we've added a little bit of filter drive at the beginning, but I like to add distortion at the end of the chain as well, which I discussed earlier. And that so I can saturate all of the effects as well. And you get quite nice tones through doing that. So this is something I do quite a lot in Ableton as well. So we're going to go to effects type, distort, and then I'm going to program this in. So let's go for, let's put the wet all the way up just to start with while we program it in. Just bring that tone up. Just so it's at 0, so we're not dampening or high passing this. And then let's take a look at the asymmetry and curve. Let's set it quite low, and then bring that wet down. Bring the output up. Around there works quite nicely. Just adds a little bit of saturation there and brings everything together. Let's come out of here. And then let's just make one more macro to finish this off. So let's just hit stop there. Macro assign. We've got that high pass as well, so let's set that up. Let's go to assign, filter 2, cut off. Oops, let me go back. Cut off, and I just want to put that back to 0. I might as well just restart it now. Let's go again. Assign, filter 2, cut off, depth amount. So this should be a high pass. Let me just double check it. Yep, we've got high pass there. So let's put this at around 70, so it's quite high. Then let's press assign again, go to filter 2, and we can bring up the resonance as well. The next thing I want to do is let's add a little bit more of that reverb time, bring some of that up again. Just to make it more washy. And then let's also bring up some delay feedback as well. And there we've got it. So fairly straightforward. One thing we didn't do actually is we didn't name that, so let me just go through that. So let's go down to the list name, and then high pass should be in here, but if it's not, I might have to dial it in. Let's have a quick look. No. So I'm going to go to custom name, And we need to go H high. Let's put this one as a capital. And then 2 S's for the end. There we go. So we finished the preset now. I'm going to save this one, but after this one I won't save them, just to go through the motions of saving a preset. So let's go to, in fact, before we save it, just put these to where we need them to be for a starting sound. That's always a good thing to do. Let's bring the decay down quite a bit, actually. Right, so that's our starting sound, and then the filter as well. There we go, around there. So let's save it, just to go through the motions of saving a preset, and then I won't do it for the other two. So let's call this, just to, you know, quicken it up, instead of putting the whole preset in that I did for the preset pack, the full name, I'll just put in bass. We'll call it bass 1. And then category, change this to bass. I've gone the wrong way. There we go. And then a color for basses. I think I've been going for red. Let's just go for that. And then we're going to save it on this empty slot here. So let's just press save again. And that's it. We've made a preset. So that's pretty much how you go through making a preset. And then we're going to take a look at creating a lead sound next, and then a sequence as well, which is going to be quite fun. So yeah, let's move over to the lead one now.